Well, the South Park guys are at it again, this time putting out a South Park special that is probably the most risque we have ever seen. And that is really saying something. But it's also important because, due to the nature of this limiting its audience, we may be able to figure out very soon just how popular Into the Panderverse was, the South Park special that lampooned to great effect Kathleen Kennedy's Star Wars and the Walt Disney Company. We never received Nielsen ratings for that, despite the fact that it looked like it was trending everywhere, at the top of the list, at the top of the radar, perhaps the biggest show that Paramount Plus had ever put out. Now, though, we have something to make a comparison with, and we're going to go show you exactly how we can connect the dots right now. Hello folks, welcome back to the channel that's changing Hollywood, or shall we say Hollyweird, one video at a time. Happy holidays to each and every one of you out there. Merry Christmas, and as we get ready for that new year, we hope it's going to be a wonderful one for you. Today we are taking a look at an article out of USA Today, and then we are going to connect the dots in a way that you won't find anywhere else. Take a look at this out of USA Today by Mike Snyder. Not suitable special from South Park spoofs online influencers, Logan Paul, and more. The newest South Park special truly has something special. A notice the show is really not suitable for children. And folks, I watched a small bit of this episode, and it really is not suitable for children. I also would say that it is as far to the extreme of what Paramount Plus is probably willing to put on their service as you can imagine. And so I don't think the audience is going to be large for this. The Paramount Plus exclusive, which began airing Wednesday, even has that in its title. South Park, which is in its 26th season, has remained popular for its ability to spoof current events via the characters in its TV series, which is typically rated TV-MA, or mature, unsuitable for those under 17. So it's a cartoon about kids that tackles modern themes like The Simpsons does, but using spicier language and situations. It regularly notes before its episodes that the show contains coarse language and shouldn't be viewed by anyone. Now, how spicy is it? Well, folks, you're going to notice that as I'm reading this article, I no longer can read the article accurately because of the platform in which we're on. And so it's that spicy. It's so spicy that the commentary of it is too spicy. There is stuff in here in cartoon form. We'll just leave that first sentence alone. That's because the show tackles the world. Can't read that one either. Nope, can't read it at all, but you can. Another target, the prevalence of hydration drinks getting the attention of children. Okay, well, that's one that actually is handled in the episode that we can talk about. Lampooning Logan Paul and KSI. A 2020 South Park pandemic special poked fun at the problems with remote schooling and how people didn't wear masks properly, calling them chin diapers. More recently, South Park joining the Panderverse, which hit Paramount Plus 2 months ago, poked fun at Disney and Marvel. The special is now available to stream in the US and Canada and hits other international markets later this week. Folks, don't turn this on if you have children around. I mean, flat out. And if you have a grandmother around, don't turn it on either. I mean, just treat this like you would if it came from the back corner of the video rental store that you're not supposed to go into. The seedy part of it, right? That's the level of seediness that is involved in this. All right, but that said, and you watch it if you want to, you don't have to if you don't want to. That said, this hits on the thing that I think is so important here. South Park took on Disney with great effect just 2 months ago, and yet we never saw any Nielsen numbers. We never found out how well this performed with audiences, and that's shocking because we should have. And people have offered their suggestions about why we didn't. Some people said, well, you know, it's not really a movie and it's not really a TV show, so that made it not appear on Nielsen. And we kind of looked into that and decided that's probably not the case because it probably should have been in the top 10 overall. And so it wouldn't have mattered if it was a TV show or a movie. It was just overall in the top 10. And yet it never showed up in that top 10. And we waited 3-4 weeks waiting to see if it would ever show up in the Nielsen charts, even past the time when we knew it should have been in the Nielsen charts. Never did. That's really bizarre. It's really strange. In fact, I don't know of any other show that we've ever covered where it didn't show up in the Nielsen charts about where we expected. And so for South Park Into the Panderverse to be completely left off, even despite the fact that Nielsen covers Paramount Plus and tracks their viewing, very bizarre. And so one might surmise, and we did so in this channel, that there could be a mundane reason for that, but there also could be a nefarious purpose for it. And that might be that it does grave damage, I suppose, to people like Kathleen Kennedy and the Walt Disney Company if South Park is shown to have trended very well. So much of the same way that we have seen in the past where some of these online platforms prevent us from knowing exactly what's going on, although we're not alleging that absolutely from Nielsen. We have no reason to believe that Nielsen isn't forthright with us. Who knows? Maybe somehow Paramount didn't give Nielsen the data that they needed. I have no idea how this works. I'm sure there's some sort of explanation behind the scenes. All of that said, we're going to start sleuthing here. We're going to start sleuthing with South Park and this latest episode, and the degree to which it goes into adult material gives us a great way of figuring out exactly how Panderverse performed. Let me show you this. So what we've got here is a Google trend, and the Google trend is for just simply South Park. And we've put this in for the past, I don't know, 3-4 months, whatever this is. And you can see September 22nd is our first day, and it lands over here on December 18th, just before South Park Not Suitable for Children releases. And so what we see is that South Park has a steady interest level of about 40% of what it had when Into the Panderverse came out. And Into the Panderverse came out and did astoundingly well. It rose to 69%, 100%, 76%, and then held for several days at a high level beyond what is normally seen for South Park. And South Park episodes, by the way, typically when they release, they're able to make the top 10 all on their own on Nielsen. So the fact that when Into the Panderverse came out, it shot up to 100%, that probably indicates that absolutely this should have been close to the top show on streaming, and we should have seen that on Nielsen, but we did not for whatever reason. However, the latest show, the reason this gives us a way to measure that finally and break through whatever potential censorship there might be, take a look at this. If we go to the past 7 days, and remember, that gets us into that area that we were. Remember, December 18th was our last day that we could see previous. So here's the 18th again. And what do we see? Well, we see that on the 18th, we are at, let's see here, at about 50%, versus when Not Suitable for Children releases, it pops up to 100%. Now, what that means is that on the 18th, the interest level, and these are Google searches, and they're pretty well correlated with viewership, actually. We've done this for years, and it's pretty well correlated. There are some exceptions. If you have a movie, for example, that is exceptionally hated, people will search for it at a much higher level than viewership, but I don't think that's what's happening with South Park. So you've got a doubling here, essentially. And so what that means is that we know that Not Suitable for Children will come in somewhere between 70 and 80% of the interest level of Into the Panderverse. And so the drop-off, though, seems to be like it's going to be a little bit stronger. So if we go back again to the 90 days, take a look again. All right, so 100%. And on the 18th, we were at 42%. So about 80% is probably where it pops up. And then we'll see. Now, it's important to note that we had several days of highs for South Park Into the Panderverse. And we'll see how that holds as well with Not Suitable for Children. All of that said, if this pops up to 80% at best, I think, 80%, and the reason I say at best, folks, is because this is a show that's going to have a lot of people exit at particular points. And if you've seen the episode, you know what I'm talking about. There are going to be some people who say, this is too much, I'm out. There are going to be some people who think it's hilarious, but there's going to be a lot of people who say, no, I'm good, South Park, you've gone too far for me. But the reason this is important is because it's a limiting factor in the audience size that was not existent with the Disney Into the Panderverse. Into the Panderverse, it had a lot of cursing, but other than that, it wasn't profane in other areas. This episode is very profane in areas. And so that's limiting to the audience that it can have, the streaming minutes, etc. So all of that to say, if in 4 or 5 weeks we see Not Suitable for Children charting on Nielsen, then there is absolutely no way that Into the Panderverse was not a massive success for Paramount Plus. And then the heat will be on, because at that point, we're going to begin doing some real journalism here. Not that we're not already, but we're going to start doing real investigations to try to figure out, why is it that South Park suddenly wasn't able to be seen? Because there would have been stories everywhere had Into the Panderverse, been revealed to have been an explosive success at the cost of Disney. So if this one, which is by its very nature, very limited in scope and scale. If it charts, and if Panderverse didn't, and we know based on the Google Trends, we know exactly what should have happened, we're going to be on that. Because that would be, although we're not alleging this, and although we're not sure about this, and although we can't possibly know intent, that would definitely be an indicator of manipulation of the narrative out there. Because imagine all the stories, imagine all the articles that would have come out, imagine all the videos. If that was prevented somehow, well, we're going to cover it nevertheless, because we here on the Pro Channel, we're intrepid, and we're not going to stop, because we believe in telling the truth, and we believe in following the truth wherever it goes. Again, folks, I'm not endorsing this episode of South Park. You've got to be a certain type of person to like it. Some people are going to love it. Some people are going to say, woo, not for me. And, that's just up for you. Read about it before you watch it and see if it's your kind of content. And, folks, that is the video for today. It is short, sweet, to the point, but we just wanted to bring you this because I don't think anybody else is really covering this. It's kind of been left to the wayside, and I don't think that's right. If Disney or anyone else managed to keep this from charting on Nielsen for their own purposes, we're going to follow that, and we're going to get to the bottom of it. So that's what we're doing. Folks, if you like content like this, consider clicking the like button, share, subscribe, and when you click it, you stick it to the algorithms, it's the notification bell. Drop a comment down below, let us know your thoughts, and wherever you are and whatever you're doing. Keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
Listen up, my brothers and sisters. You've been listening to fills and those with an agenda to destroy your brain cells for far too long. It's time to change your way of doing things. Hold up. TPP is the place to be. Covering the news, so honestly, it's a team that's cool and tried and true. Ahead of the culture curve, they're trying to keep you. Jonas and Pro, they run the show, and they dragged in the bearded culture casino. You got Valiant and Lord and Fourth of Light. Wonderful people, yeah, they're alright. They got weird bringing in people like Floral, but made no mistake with Lorena Creole. Amelia and John, stuttering guitarist. Martin and Tawny and someone called CMS. Fat Steven makes a bunch of all the graphics. Did I mention a partnership with Bending in the comics? Fat Sky is a guy and Doc Matt does the web stuff. There's probably some people I missed. I hope they're not telling you the news. That should be fun with accurate info that's not been spun. You can figure it out as you will see. The TPP is the place to be.
Yeah, Wilton. That was actually pretty good, or white. But I think you might have forgotten Vash.
Well, he lost all his friends. But it was implied.